Selena West. My student number is 00083535T. And in today's blog, I will be talking to you about corporate social responsibility involving ethics and sustainability for the company Woolworths Limited, and more specifically Woolworths Supermarkets, as that is the branch that I work in. I'm going to go through each of the topics that we went through over the last 11 weeks, and I'm going to draw on points relating to them on what Woolworths does, and I'll be giving my own recommendations. These opinions are my own and not of Woolworths. Firstly, let's talk about Woolworths. Woolworths is a national supermarket brand that has branched out into many different areas, including hardware, alcohol, everyday goods and items, and hotels. Woolworths has a very large share in the market, being one of two in the duopoly involving Coles and the Wesfarmers Group. Woolworths is known as Woolworths Limited, and it branches out into Woolworths, Big W, Masters, Dan Murphy's, BW Worths, and many other brands like that. Woolworths has been operating for almost 100 years, and they have been established as a household brand and is trusted and relied upon every day. The first topic I'll be talking to you about is the Woolworths and business ethics. To begin, Woolworths likes to establish itself as a very ethical business. They employ many thousands of Australians, including young and old. They promote learning and improving your skills, and to forge a really strong career with the company. Woolworths also likes to be viewed in the consumer's eyes as a company they can trust, and that all their produce and all their products are sustainable and cheap. Apart from being ethical in the consumer's eyes, Woolworths is one of the only companies to produce a corporate responsibility report. Their last one they produced was in 2013, and they had this to say. Woolworths Limited in 2013 was the global leader in the Dow Jones Sustainable Indices for food and staples retailing industry group. Their contribution to the economy included over 119,000 jobs, and with new jobs every day totaling 7,166. Jobs created indirectly in Australia was 750,000, so this includes distribution centres, farmers, products and corporations to create products to put on Woolworths shelves. And they paid a whopping $7 billion in wages to Australians. They support their community partners with $63.6 million of funding. They also promote staff volunteering by providing $9.2 million to that. And they also give meals for food donations at $2.4 million. And in serving their customers served on average is 28.4 million a week, which is about the entire population of Australia. And their clear nutritional labelling of own brand foods is at 100%. So Woolworths likes to think that they are being corporate socially responsible, and by providing this report it allows anybody to view it and anybody to gain the feedback from it. My opinion on Woolworths' business ethics, coming from an employee who's on the receiving end of these benefits, I would like to say that they are an ethical company in that they do pay their wages, they are a unionised company, and they do provide the learning experiences to be ethical. It can be said that Woolworths attempts to follow the law. In my eyes, Woolworths is an ethical business. From being a current worker for almost 4 years, I can say that Woolworths likes to do its dealings ethically and promote a very ethical environment, going further than business ethics and ethics overall. Woolworths is considered an equal opportunity employer, which means they employ people of mixed races, genders, sexes, and all those things, and they do not discriminate against that. Woolworths provides many jobs so people can get a job regardless of who they are and where they come from. In my eyes, I don't think Woolworths really needs to improve on their ethics. Well, I will talk later about their legal issues, involving the farmers, But I think overall, in terms of the way they treat their staff and the way that they treat their community, they really are trying their best to be an ethical company in the modern era. The second talking point I will talk about is Woolworths' bottom line. The second talking point I will talk about is Woolworths' triple bottom line reporting. I had already touched upon their corporate social responsibility report, including people and planet, but like all companies, they produce an annual report, and Woolworths is one of the most successful companies in Australia, with their profit margins exceeding the billions. Last year, in 2014, Woolworths released its latest annual report. Their key financial figures were, for financial year 2014, they fully franked dividends per share at 137 cents. And overall, their total dividends received returned to shareholders in relation to the financial year of 2014, $1.7 billion. They have also made mention to their key financial highlights, with sales exceeding $60 billion, their continuing operations before significant items at 4.2%, and their total group is 8.5% going up. Other key financial highlights is their net profit after tax with $2,451.7 million, aka $2.4 billion in profit. Their continuing operations went up 4.2 or 6.1%, and their total group at 8.5. And their earnings per share is 196.5 cents. In regards to triple bottom line reporting, Woolworths is one of the few companies to produce documents to cover it all. Whether or not these reports accurately reflect the people, planet, profit of the triple bottom line reporting is up for debate. However, it can be said that Woolworths is making a clear effort to provide this information to the public. The next topic I will touch upon is corporate governance at Woolworths. As stated on the Woolworths Limited website, their response to corporate governance is as such. The corporate governance framework and practices of Woolworths Limited are set out in a number of key documents and policies. A summary of these documents and policies, along with copies of the documents, policies and charters, are set out below. Their corporate governance statement is: each year, Woolworths Limited issues a corporate governance statement. The statement sets out the corporate governance framework adopted by the board and highlights the work undertaken by the board and its committees over the past financial year. The current corporate governance statement is for the financial year ending 30 June 2013. On their annual report for 2013, it states, corporate governance is at the core of the board's approach to the enhancement of shareholder value and the protection of shareholders' funds. Woolworths is committed to ensuring that its policies and practices in the critical area of financial reporting, remuneration reporting, and corporate governance meets high levels of disclosure and compliance. Compliance with governance standards. As a company listed on the Australian Securities Exchange, Woolworths is required generally either to apply the recommendations contained in the ASX Corporate Governance Council, Corporate Governance Principles and Recommendations with the 2010 amendments, the second edition, and the ASX recommendations, or disclose any differences to them. For the most part, Woolworths is controlled by the ASX. As that they are a publicly listed company, they have to ensure that all their corporate governance aligns with theirs, or if they don't, they must ensure that the ASX knows of their plans and their ideas, and it must be put down in writing, so the company can continue to grow and thrive and ensure that it is providing the correct business ethics and corporate governance to the community. The next point I would like to touch upon is ethical decision making. The next point I will touch upon is ethical decision making. Throughout the years, Woolworths has made significant decisions that have impacted the community and the economy of Australia. Woolworths likes to believe that these decisions were made ethically and that they promoted growth and sustainability for years to come. It allows other companies to purchase supplies so that they can further the infrastructure in Australia and promote jobs in the long run. Another ethical decision that has been made by Woolworths is to ensure that they continue to expand and grow by building more and more outlets for Woolworths supermarkets in many regional towns. This in turn promotes equality and creates the foundation for more jobs in that community and to allow the economy to speed up and for those communities to become on the map and be connected with the rest of the country. My views on Woolworths' ethical decision making is that although they make ethical decisions at the CEO and board level, I feel that many decisions that are made on an operational level really push the limit of ethical decision making. Sometimes I feel like the board and the CEO and the head office is really distant to all of its supermarket chains, liquor chains, and now hardware and clothing chains. I think that the decisions that are made within the supermarkets at the operational levels might not necessarily be ethical when thought about. One of these can be that staff become far too overworked, that when you look at the decision to create new rosters, a lot of times the rosters that get created only cater to some and don't cater to others. Those that do night shifts seem to always get stuck with the night shifts. There doesn't seem to be any flexibility because these people who've been doing day shifts don't want to give that up. No matter how hard you communicate that query and no matter how hard they seem to try to fix it, the decision making in the end just turns out to be one of money. They want to ensure that the funds are there and that they can do it as minimum as they possibly can. So if you are slotted into the night shift and if that works and those people are happy, you know, as long as they're happy to turn a profit over with less payment, with less expenses, that's okay. I think a lot of decision making on the operational level is not very ethical. But these are the kind of decisions that Woolworths doesn't let the community know. Woolworths is happy to tell of their board decisions, of their company decisions, but the decisions that happen every day in your local supermarket or liquor store don't reflect these values. And I feel like that is a very big issue that faces Woolworths. I also think that the distance between the stores and the head office is quite large. Woolworths is quite distant. I work at Glenwood Woolworths, which is one suburb away from Bella Vista. Bella Vista is where the head office is and where the CEO works. One suburb away, and yet I feel like they're more than 100 suburbs away. A major decision Woolworths has to make every year is what stores to upgrade and what stores to open. Being a store that is one suburb away, you think a lot of the trials would happen at our store. Incorrect. Our store hasn't been updated for about 10 years, whereas there are new store openings in the most regional of communities in Australia with brand new facilities to cater to a growing population. So I think, depending on where they pull a profit in the world of Woolworths around Australia, those stores that pull the highest profits is where Woolworths wants to focus most of its attention upon. Those stores that pull in an average profit aren't really considered highly in their favour. However, my store is catering to a small community, with a small community of staff on the store and how small the store is. For what profit it actually turns over is quite substantial because Woolworths is so heavily infiltrated that area that within a 5-minute drive there are about 4 other Woolworths that people could attend. So the fact that the locals still trust their local Woolworths at Glenwood is clear that our decision making must be ethical and that our practices must be ethical enough for those consumers to continue following that brand. My next point of talking is the stakeholder approach. Woolworths, as stated before, is listed on the Australian Stock Exchange. They are a public company and they also provide share purchase plans for their employees. The share purchase plan is released every single year, and by a cut-off you can buy maturing stocks that you can access within 10 to 20 years of the company. I, for one, have not bought any stocks with the company. I feel like I would rather invest my stocks elsewhere. That's just my opinion. In terms of shareholders and stockholders, Woolworths really only aims to please them. Of course, they please their local communities by providing the necessary food and equipment to live. However, they are more concerned with just pulling a profit and making sure that the stakeholders are happy. You can see this by every report having something that influences or something that makes mention to stakeholders. I don't think Woolworths will change this, so any of the ideas I suggest probably won't happen. Unless Woolworths stops being a public company, stakeholders will always come first and employees will always come second. It would be nice if Woolworths could put their employees first, because if you treat the employee right, you motivate the employee right, you give the employee the necessary means to carry out their job, there will be higher profit for the stakeholders. Sometimes it's not always about pleasing stakeholders. Sometimes you have to please the employees who are doing the hard work to pull in these profits. My third last point is legal versus ethical. This is where I touch on the Australian farmers. I don't think Woolworths is really following the law with the way they treat farmers. Farmers are paid a pittance for the amount of milk they produce, where Woolworths turns over billions and billions of profit from this milk. Now, the milk may only be $1, $2 and $3 and is really only a drawing card into the rest of the supermarket, but statistics and studies show that you may just be going to the shop for milk, but you will walk out with other things besides milk. Milk is the drawing card and Woolworths knows that. That is how they've managed to keep its price down low, because they make the money elsewhere in their store. Farmers, however, only get paid on a 30-day contract, meaning Woolworths has 30 days to spin its money around and make massive amounts of profit before the farmer even receives 1 cent for the produce they have produced. I don't think this is fair, I don't think this is ethical, and I don't even think this is borderline illegal, I think. My ideas for remedying this is paying farmers up front and paying farmers a fair living wage, and even better, to pay above a living wage. I think Woolworths should pay them for the stock before the stock hits the shelf. Unless times of crisis hit the dairy farming and bread communities, at the current rate, these farmers seem to produce enough milk to meet these demands. I don't see why Woolworths can't pay up front first for the milk. This will allow farmers to invest even more into the production of milk, instead of having to wait after the milk has already been sold and drawn a profit. This, in the eye of the consumer, will make them feel like they are more ethical. However, I don't see that happening in the near future. I don't think Woolworths is that kind of company. They, like I said, really are in it for the profit, and that's really sad when a lot of companies are just in it for the money. Second last point I'd like to touch upon is ethical branding. Woolworths is known for its catchy slogans, its annoyingly catchy songs, and its marketing towards children. They are the next generation of purchasers at their companies, so that is why they've created these easy slogans and ethical branding awareness to ensure the future of their company. One of the major draw points I would like to talk about is when in 2012, Woolworths underwent a massive rebranding. They were known as the fresh food people. They decided to conquer Australia by being Australia's fresh food people. However, 3 years on, from my knowledge and what I've noticed at stores, the branding has gone back to the fresh food people. It seems that the country was not ready to accept Woolworths as Australia's fresh food people. I don't think that their goal to conquer the retail market in Australia was at the right time. However, I don't think their branding as the fresh food people is really enough to be considered an ethical branding. Yes, it has the word fresh, the word food, which is what they are well known for. I still don't think it is really creating the ethics. It's not underlying the problems that the company has in terms of the farmers. It doesn't show that the employees are even considered, only because it says people. With employees at the operational level feeling so distant from the head office, it almost feels like the people they're talking about is the CEO and it is the stakeholders. Lastly, I'd like to draw upon a point that just recently Woolworths attempted to do an ethical branding for Anzac Day. Their marketing campaign was that the Anzacs were fresh in our memory. A lot of people did not take this positively. They thought it was a very, very negative way of supporting the Anzacs. And Woolworths was practically forced to pull down the advertisements all around the store because they were viewed as unethical, horrible, and almost diminishing the name that is Anzac. So even though Woolworths thought they were doing an ethical branding and they were being ethical, there is a fine line between being ethical and being offensive. And Woolworths seemed to have strayed too far to the offensive side because many people did not like that. The last thing I would like to talk about is sustainability and ethical development. Woolworths has an environmental strategy that it is attempting to implement from 2015 to 2017. Woolworths has broken down sustainability into 4 meanings. It's about listening, it fits with our values, it's about looking forward, and it's about leadership. That is what Woolworths believes sustainability is reflective of in its company. They have 3 major commitments and targets. Their first one being a 40% reduction in carbon emissions on projected growth levels by 2015 and maintaining at their 2006 levels. At least 200 million litres of water to be saved each year through the WaterWise project, and 3.4 million reusable crates to replace single-use wax boxes. This has become apparent in the Woolworths stores, with almost 100% of produce coming in plastic reusable crates that they send back to the distribution centres for more stock to be placed in. However, in most departments this is not the case. Boxes and plastic are still widely used, and these are the choices of the suppliers Woolworths has used. My thoughts on Woolworths as an ethical company are in the middle. I think in some aspects Woolworths is quite an ethical company. They like to produce reports, they like to put on the facade that they are ethical, but being an operational employee and being at the brunt of terrible decision making and unethical practices like overworking and not paying leave entitlements, I don't think Woolworths is a truly ethical company. I think Woolworths likes to appear as an ethical company. What the consumer knows and what the company knows are 2 separate things. However, in this modern digital age, when news reports go further and deeper into the backstories of companies, with internet exposing through invasive journalism, I think Woolworths will eventually be ratted out. I have a feeling that the operational levels of Woolworths will be found out for what they really are. And a lot of the bad things that happen in the stores that make the news aren't actually the employee's fault. It is the company creating an environment where it almost feels impossible to carry out simple jobs like looking at use-by dates. With over 26,000 products in a store, it is quite understandable that there would be quite a margin of error if there was not enough employees checking use-by dates. And that goes down to the training. Not many employees know that they have to check use-by dates when they rotate. Most of the time the company thinks that is common sense. But common sense is a skill that some people don't have. And employees of Woolworths, unless correctly trained, may not be aware of this. That is why a lot of responsibility is heaped upon managers' shoulders, and the turnover for Woolworths managers is really high. Having worked at a store for 4 years, I can officially say I've had 3 managers and 4 second in charge. That's almost 1 new person a year, because the stress is so detrimental to the health and well-being of the person, and the stress from the corporation to create more and more sales is essentially killing, and I don't find that anyway sustainable or ethical. My name is Lena West. This has been my rant/presentation on Woolworths Limited. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'd like to hear your feedback soon.